Namaste and welcome to Indic Academy. It's such a pleasure to speak with you, Imran, and to know more about Kalaripayattu and Kalarigram in Pondicherry. Could you tell us from the beginning, how did you get associated and your, shift from, or do you continue to train Kabaddi players in Bangalore to shifting to Kalari?
Thank you, Aparna ji, first of all, to have this, to give me this opportunity to kind of share my story also with you. Basically, I'm a strength and conditioning coach by profession, and I've been training different kinds of sports person, just not Kabaddi, as in that was a stint that I did back in 2017, I remember. So I started my whole career into fitness in 2011, and from there on, I studied and I went to US and I went to Australia and I went to England to kind of study more about the human anatomy and kinesiology and various other methodologies that are involved in training. I continue doing it. I do it. I mean, it's not. It's mostly, I would say, is I freelance, which gives me an opportunity to be here in Kalarigram and practice Kalaripayattu and also study Tantra. So that gives me that freedom and flexibility to move around. I came here in 2021 January through a common friend who also happens to practice Kalaripayattu, and he's from Kerala. So he suggested me this place while I was looking for a practice which is more holistic, more wholesome, and obviously my inclination was more towards yoga. But then for me, coming from a sports background where I liked more of dynamism in my activity, and so he suggested, why don't you just try this martial art? And that's how I came here. I just came here for a month, basically. Now it's been 3 years and I've been coming on and off. So when I'm not traveling and if I don't have work, then I'm mostly here in Kalarigram, being in the ashram and being part of the whole um, core committee that we have, which also supports Guruji in running the whole place.
Was it difficult to shift to, or rather to take up a Kalari at a age around whichever age you do? Or, I've seen that being initiated at a very young age, like 6 or 7. Is that easier?
Yes.
Or, since you were already into physical training, was it easy for you
Uh,
and will be difficult for others like us who are not into?
See, definitely. I mean, it's a lot more easier at 7 when you start because then your body is like a clean slate, right? I mean, the more you get used to certain kind of patterns, right, the more your central nervous system gets adapted to it. Then you have to unlearn those patterns to learn new patterns. So definitely it was difficult for me. I mean, when I came here, I was already 34, 33. So, it definitely, and also because I've been trained in a certain way, right? As in when you usually go to gym and you have a fixed set of patterns that you do, like, certain exercises, but also having played sports for a long time, that kind of my body somehow knew it. It took time, like I said, it took time to unlearn those patterns, to adapt new things which I was learning in Kalari. So yeah, it was not easy, I would say. It's a lot more easier for somebody who probably starts at their early age, maybe at the teenage, and even if you're in 20s, it's a lot more easy to kind of adapt. But then probably, once you have practiced a certain philosophy for a long period of time, or a certain movement practice for a long period of time, so it's difficult to unwind those patterns. But then having said that, uh, the beauty of this practice is that as you start practicing, the environment or the ecosystem is so conducive that if you really put your mind and heart into it, it it will start coming, because these are very natural movements. It's flow, and I feel that that flow and rhythm is already present in our body in different forms. In form of breath, we have inhalation and exhalation. You have You have arteries and veins which pulls blood to the heart and then throws it back to your body. So that rhythm is already there in you, right? So once you get a tune with yourself and you're there in Kalari, and when you practice those movements, you're there on, like, you're grounded to the floor, you practice it barefoot with minimum clothing, right? And when you're in that whole environment, it supports you and encourages you to kind of learn those movement patterns.
And since you're into also documenting the history of Kalari, would you say that Kalari was used with a purpose? It was not just a martial art earlier, because well, when we spoke to Gurukul, he said they were actually training warriors for war. So if we take that out of the equation, what does the purpose? If it was being used for a certain objective, and you take that away, how does that change the nature of coloring?
Okay, that's a very interesting question, and this is something which people ask me very often, that, now it's been turned into a performing arts, or like a movement practice, and different forms of practitioners come and kind of explore it, and then they kind of inculcate this practice into their art forms. See, the beauty of Kalaripayattu isn't, say, you say a warfare, right? Or for me, like an athlete, the fundamental or the core nature of Kalaripayattu was a war science, definitely, as in you learned how to fight, with different weapons and bare hands, and all of it. But if you realize, the center or the core of the practice was to have ekagrata, or the single-minded focus. And especially in a situation like war, a slip between the cup and the lip, you lose your life. So imagine the amount of concentration, imagine the amount of single-minded focus that this art form develops or inculcates in you, which you can use in different aspects of your life. You could be an actor, you could be a performer, you could be an athlete. I mean, say, for example, if I'm playing a sport, like, say, if I'm playing football, for that 90 minutes, the entire focus of all uh, everyone, like 20, more than 20 people, is just on one ball, and the focus is to put it in that net. I mean, whoever has better focus, whoever has better body control, and the ability to stay focused in that moment, is a better athlete. Or say, if I'm performing on the stage itself, my ability to stay present in that character that I'm playing, or that character I want to portray. So I feel that the core of Kalaripayattu revolved around that. Even the warriors, they would train to stay present, right? Be aware of have that spatial understanding, have more awareness about yourself when you jump, flip, and how you can stay focused when your body starts actually getting tired. When you start getting tired, that's when your focus comes in, and that's what all these sporting activities, or all, even when you're doing a dance form, it's really easy and you're really focused when you start. But then how do you cope up as you start getting more and more into your practice, as you start getting towards the latter part of your performance? So I think that's one takeaway that anyone can take. You can be an artist, you can be somebody who just probably work on some project, where you require to have that attention and focus. So yeah, I mean, that's the core. I mean, that's what I feel, that's the benefit that you can get from practicing Kalaripayattu.
What are the projects that you're involved in right now? You mentioned documentation of the history. Could you just give us a
So it's our Guruji's, as in Lakshman Gurukal's vision, where it's called Prashurama Project, and Prashurama is the founder of, is the one who received this martial art form from Shiva himself. And so the idea is to travel all across the Konkan region, and tap into these kalaris, meet gurukuls and masters, interview them, document their practice, understand and document their philosophy, and also if they have any spiritual practice. And also going to certain kalaris. There are certain kalaris in Kerala which are defunct now. They're not functioning. and what happened there, why there's no practice, or maybe going to the families, the lineage, and kind of trying to figure it out. If they had practice, what kind of practice they had, what form. So we have the northern and the southern style. So, and also Guruji wants these two styles to understand and take the benefits of both the styles, understand the philosophy of both the styles, and put it together. So there is Siddha medicine, and the other form of Kalari, which comes from Agastya, and then we have Prashurama and Ayurveda from this side. So the idea of Guruji is to kind of bring them together and put it on the central path, which basically is Tantra, as in when you can have the ideas of both the sides. And that's how I think Sanatan Dharma was. Initially, I mean, there was no like, okay, you practice Vedas, I do Tantra, or you do this and I do that. There was no segregation. In fact, all these gurukuls and acharyas and these practitioners would kind of share their practice with each other, and bring it to a point where it can benefit the humankind. So the larger picture that Guruji is looking at is to bring all these philosophies together and all these practices together, and kind of document it from just not an intellectual perspective, but also from a practitioner's perspective. I mean, since me and my my teacher is Akshay, who's been teaching Kalari here in Kalari Gram, and was also a Kalari practitioner for almost more than 15 years. He's my teacher here. So he's been traveling with me. So we'll be traveling to these Kalaris, and just not kind of have like intellectual recording of the practice, but also kind of practice with them, move with them to understand how different the practice is. So this is the whole idea of having this Prashurama project.
Also conduct Tantrotsava festival during Shivratri. What is the connection? You mentioned Tantra, but to you, what is the connection between Tantra and Kalari?
Okay, that's I mean, the two sides of the same coin. I mean, they coexist together. See, the beauty of if you see, they both induce or kind of bring you to the same state. As in, one is you attain stillness or single-minded focus through movement, whereas the other one requires you to probably sit in one place and just focus on one point, or focus on your breath. So the connection here also goes into fact that when you practice Kalari, right, you start um, revealing, or you start, I would say, not revealing exactly, but you start shedding off a lot of layers which you kind of impose on yourself through societal conditioning, as in the way we move, and see, the way we are as humans will project in our movements itself. It's no different from how Imran is in general life and how he would be in Kalaripayattu, right? So that's one aspect where the practice of Tantra sadhana is to get more in sync with yourself and shed off those layers which you kind of pile upon yourself. And through sadhana and through the mantra practices, how you reach to your own self. So they go hand in hand, where you kind of, one is more the dynamic dance, where through movement you attain that awareness about yourself, and the other one is more in a still form, where you inculcate that awareness within yourself.
You also said there's a Kali Mandir that's been built at
That's
Kalari.
all it, yeah. It's Kudangalur Bhagavati basically, and and she is the presiding deity in our Kalari, as in Bhagavati, as in it's Bhairavi, which sits there. So when we go there in Kalari, we do the Vandanam, and that's how our practice starts. We start our practice by doing Kalari Vandanam, which is basically paying homage to Shakti and Shiva. And we practice in an axis, as in even when you come to Kalari, you will see the Poothara is in the southwest direction, and we start from the northeast, as in facing the other side, and we work on that axis too. So the Vandanam is done in a way where you face Shakti once and you face Shiva once. So it's like you're harmonizing both side, channelizing both side of your body.
Is it possible in cities and where we have Kalari practice for them to, pay attention to these important details when it's taught in, random buildings and places? Is what is, how does that dilute the practice? Or
It definitely dilutes the practice, but then again they say, the moment you start practicing, the moment you you really put your heart and mind into it, then all the gurus, that are attached with this lineage, with this practice, they say their grace falls on you, and they bestow you with their grace. So you might be maybe in some, like a bustling city like New York, and doing it in a small apartment. I mean, of course, the feeling, or the ambient or the atmosphere is not like that. But then with Guru's grace, I think you will be able to receive, what the practice has. So definitely, it's not the same. But then, what I want to say here is, having lived in Bombay for some time, even when I travel and when I go back to my hometown, it's not the same feeling that you get. But what I've realized is, not thinking about these obstacles and just being present in the practice, and it brings me to that same state, at least internally. Maybe the physical surrounding is not that, and that's what the whole practice is all about. To how internally, how you can bring your awareness more inwards, rather than thinking about what is happening outside. So I think when you have that intention, they say, if you have that ichha shakti is there in you. We have ichha shakti, jnana shakti, and kriya shakti. These three aspects of knowledge, I feel, and learning. So when you have that ichha, you have that intent, right? Automatically, the practice will start unveiling itself to you, and then you can reap the benefits of it.
Well, talking to Lakshman Gurukul, you just feel he's like a walking rishi. And he's like, he quotes from Ayurveda, he quotes from Vedas, he quotes from, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. I mean, how is it possible for one person to maybe in the olden days it was a necessary part of training to learn all of these shastras. So is that also the case now? I mean, how much is it possible for Kalari practitioners to actually know all this at their fingertips? And is it,
I
is it
mean,
happening?
yeah, I know the question isn't, we all, to be honest, when we all kind of get sometimes very surprised, and we are in awe of Guruji sometimes when he talks about, because he's just not a warrior, he's also a healer. So he has all aspect of it, being a spiritual teacher, to a master in marma chikitsa, to if you give him a sword and a spear, then he starts flying in the pit. And also being philosophical, as in quoting philosophies from all the ancient gurus, like uh, uh, from Sri Aurobindo to Ramakrishna, to all of it, all of these guys. He definitely has this vision where he wants to start this institution where, just not Kalari or Marma Chikitsa is being taught, but also the Vedas and Ayurveda and all of it, which is required, plus important subjects like physics and chemistry, and how it used to be before. Like, you see, if you, especially in the northern part of India, as in Kashmir, it used to be the seat, as in I'm talking about from 9th to 12th century, when Kashmir Shaivism flourished. It was just not about understanding Shaivism or about Shiva. It was way beyond that. I mean, these scholars studied astronomy, they studied the astrology, they studied mathematics, they studied Sanskrit and all of it, They also studied about warfares and warfare practices, as in all these kings would send their prince and their children to go and learn all of it. So the idea of Guruji is to have all this under one roof. That's the vision he has. And for him, how it comes, I mean, we don't know that, as in how he's definitely, I mean, he's somebody who he was very enthusiastic. And from my experience, what I've seen him and whatever little I've known him for like last 3 days, there's not a single day when he gets up and he's always doing something new. He's always building something. He's always creating something, trying to create something, giving responsibilities to his shishyas also. Like for me, okay, Imran, suddenly he gets up and said, oh, you do the Pashurama project and you do this, oh, you do that. And like you said, he's a walking rishi with a childlike nature. So maybe that also gives him uh, that bandwidth, that to have so much of knowledge and grasp from everything that he does wherever he goes, from Ayurveda to Kalari to whatever you say. So I think, and he continuously grows and tries to do the same with us.
Is the tradition and oral tradition, are there written texts on Kalari? And also in Kalarigram, how is it imparted? Is it just a physical practice, or do you have even academic sessions on Kalari and its background, its history? How is the tradition transferred?
See, it has always been oral, right? There have
Okay.
been certain, I mean, the masters and teachers would write it on manuscripts, on palm leaves and all, and it was passed on. So with Guruji also, I mean, we are very lucky that we just not get to learn from him in the pit, but while he's in the pit, he would suddenly stop the class and he would start uh, talking about things which somehow turns into an academic session. So I really like this approach because that stays with us. When you're made to attend a class where you go with a blackboard and you sit and then, okay, today we're going to talk about this, rather than, while we are doing the physical movement, from that physical perspective, he'll immediately take us to a very different realm. Like he'll start, say, talking about our sadhana, and he says that how Kalari practice is also Bhairava sadhana. It's a practice where you actually, anything that kind of, what he believes is anything that helps you unlayer yourself, and get towards your own nature, your own true self, right? Your own true consciousness, which is also a reflection or vimarsha of the higher consciousness, as in the Shiva consciousness, is sadhana. It could be anything. He says, while I'm driving, I've done a lot of road trips with him, and he's driving, and there's this point we went to Payanur all the way up, and we came to Calicut, and we had a bus at 6 o'clock in the morning because we were supposed to go to Bangalore to practice. And then I drove like from 3 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock straight on in a small Maruti 800 with like no electronic gadgets in it, just a plain headlights. And then he was like, this is your sadhana. I mean, the fact that you could stay focused and stay in that position, right? And there was no other distraction, that also becomes a sadhana. For a painter, if he just paints there and draws, that's a sadhana. For a sculptor to be there with his thing, that's a sadhana. So I mean, we are very lucky and fortunate to have him here and to receive knowledge, just not through Kalari, just not through physical practice. Or maybe sometimes you're just sitting in the puja room, and then in amidst the puja, while he's performing the rituals, he'll suddenly stop and ask you a question, that why are we doing this? What's the whole point of throwing all these flowers and spending hours in the puja room? And then obviously he then speaks and talks about it. So that becomes a learning.
What is your day like a typical day at Kalarigram for you?
See, it varies a lot depending upon which part of the year you're in Kalarigram. Like from now on, we just finished our production for 7 days. If you ask me, there was only one routine. It was just practice, 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 eat, practice. Obviously, we get up early in the morning. As an usual day, I would say it's like I get up at around say 5:15 in the morning because we have a class at 6 o'clock. So we do a class from 6 to 7. Then we also have diploma courses happening there. So, I mean, again, I'm blessed and fortunate enough that Guruji allows me to attend the diploma class, even though I'm not a diploma student, because I don't get to stay here. I travel for my work and come back. So it's a resident program. So if you're doing diploma, you need to be here. So then you do diploma from say 7 to 9. You do that, and then you finish it, then have breakfast, and then rest, whatever it is. And then if we work on these projects and sit and discuss and whatever we have to do, and then from 4 to 6 again we have the diploma session. So that's like almost 4 or 5 hours of Kalaripayattu. And then in between, when I have my own sessions, as in to conduct classes, take my own classes with my own profession and all, then I do all of that, and obviously have dinner by say 9ish. And if we have puja, of course, as in so whoever is free depending upon the time. So if I'm free and I have that much time, then I help arrange the puja room. If Guruji is doing puja, which he does almost every evening, so then I kind of help people to set up and all of it, and then sit with him also. If I'm done with my own sadhana, then I sit with him, eat food, and then sleep, and the same routine the next day.
So, how many such institutions are there across India, and are they connected by their lineage, or I mean the really authentic like gurukuls, kind of?
See, that's what the whole project is about, to travel and find out if there are any. I mean, for little knowledge that I have or little research that I've done, as in, I don't know of any place like this which exists where, because just Guruji doesn't bring in Kalari here, right? He brings various art forms under one roof, from Thayyam to Tereyattam, and we have workshops. Like we have workshops from these authentic people, not like say I attended a workshop and I learned from it and then I'm delivering a workshop. So he get like proper Thayyam or Tereyattam ashans from Kerala, from those villages, where those ashans are there, and they've been only doing that. That there's certain lineage that has been only doing Tereyattam and teaching Tereyattam practices. So he gets them. He gets Miraf teachers. He gets Chenda teachers. He gets like Mudiyat teachers. Right now there is something called Velichapad, which is the Komurams which are there in Kudangalur Bhagavati. You see them and they invoke the deity in them, and then they do this very mystical dance. So he got this because I was playing that character in the Kamakhya thing. So I was made to play the Velichapad. And like I said, talking about like how you receive this knowledge, and he made me to have a taste of what exactly it feels like to be one of the Velichapads, staying with them, having tea with them, eating in the same place. So it's amazing, like how he brings everything under one roof, right? And you share experiences like firsthand with these artists. So I don't think of any other place which exists. I mean, even close to what he does here. Maybe if you come here in Tantra, you'll be able to see it. How we have different workshops for almost 15 days. It's going to start from 21st of February until 6th of March, and 8th we have the Mahashivratri. So it's beautiful. Like you should definitely be here to see and
Definitely.
experience it.
Is there, has Guruji at any time referred as to how come all these beautiful art forms are concentrated in Kerala or originating from Kerala?
Yeah, I think what happened was, I mean, to my knowledge and what he says, it's because of all the invasions that he had. See, all these art forms existed in different parts of India. Northeast have a different, like they have some form of martial art dance also. I forgot the name, and they have something there. Then obviously Bengal. I come from Bengal, and it has also a rich culture of dance and music and all of it. But somehow, because Kerala was down there, right, and even the kings, and they didn't allow the invasions, be it the Mughal Sultanate or the Britishers, to kind of come and completely take away these practices. So somehow this it stayed in this part of the world, and practiced in the most authentic form without being diluted. That's the major thing. Otherwise, there are art forms, but they get, okay, because see, these art forms are just not art forms. They have a lot of um, they hold a lot of cultural and spiritual importance to it. Like, I mean, just because I've attended the Theriatam workshop, or I've did this thing with the Velicha part, and I understood that it's very sacred. These practices are done in a way where there's a reason to it. I mean, there's a reason to every possible thing you do. So I think that has kept these art forms alive in this part of the world. And there are artists who just do that. I mean, we don't even know them, and they're beautiful artists, who don't live for money, or who don't live for, they've given their entire life just doing that.
What is the role of Marma Chikitsa in Kalaripayattu? Is it the same as acupressure and what is done in Ayurveda? How is it different?
See, like I said, the beauty of Kalaripayattu is, like Guruji says, you can't be a warrior if you aren't a healer. If you I can't break things if I don't know how to mend it. So in ancient times, you can only be a Gurukul when you have attained mastery in these three aspects: the physical practice, the marma chikitsa, and you have a spiritual practice like a sadhana. Then you are considered a Gurukul. Then you stand on that side of the pit and you impart knowledge, because you have enough life experiences in different aspects of life. Say if you're practicing in the pit and suddenly someone jumps, or maybe there's a bad blow in this, because see, when we attack, like when we attack in Kalaripayattu, when we have a weapon or even bare hands, we just don't attack the person. It's certain marma points, the vital points, which are being attacked. So if there is any mistake, or in maybe you couldn't block it at the right time, it can do major harm to you. So the Gurukul has to know these parts to immediately have a counter uh, dose to that particular thing. If I did some movement and something caused to me, there has to be something to prevent that person to have that injury, or that injury to get further, uh, to get worse. So that's the whole idea that we had, and that's the whole connection that you have with Marma Chikitsa. And also the massages that you have with it, like there are rituals and different kinds of massage that you get during Karkidakam month, as in the Ramayana month, the monsoon time. You have like 15 days of massages and all, which kinds of opens up all the channels in your body and allows you to have that dexterity in body to move around in Kalaripayattu. And it's all intertwined. The beauty of it is, it just doesn't limit to Kalaripayattu. I mean, even the Kathakali guys do the original massage for 15 days before they start Kathakali practice, and they also practice Kalaripayattu.
Maybe as a last question, could you talk about your association with Indic Academy, and when did it start and how have they supported?
First of all, I'll be very grateful to Indica Academy for all the support that they've lent, just not to me, also to Kalarigram. I mean, it started with one of my friend, Manish Maheshwari, who's I think good friends with Hariji. And then that's how he introduced me to Hariji, and he shared my journey, like how being full-fledged into strength and conditioning, and having trained different uh, national and international athletes, having worked with like kabaddi cricketers, movie actors, and all of it. How I kind of diversified my practice to Kalaripayattu, and also got into like understanding, just not practicing the movement, also trying to understand the lineage and the source of it, and where it comes from, and all the hidden mysteries behind this beautiful practice. So he was the one who got me introduced to Hariji, and this was, I think, in 2022, when I haven't met Hariji in person, but we've had like a Zoom call. So and I think it goes even before I met Hariji. I think Indica was once sponsored Tantrotsav, I think probably in 2018-17. I mean, I might be wrong also on
Yeah.
that part, but we definitely had some association. Kalarigram definitely had some association with Indica even before I came into picture. And then, of course, now it's been last year, Indica sponsored our masterclass that we were having, masterclass online lectures that we were having, and we had beautiful um, speakers for almost 10 days. Every day there were new speakers talking on the Kali Krama system and Kashmir Shaivism. So, I mean, it could, I mean, Indican sponsored that, and it could happen, I mean, very smoothly because of the support that we got from Indica.
Thank you so much, Imran, for this lovely conversation. And it's good to know that the projects are increasing, and we'll soon have a documented record of the lineage of the practice. Thank you so much for this interview, and all the best.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, and see, I feel this could only be possible. You know, what we are doing right now is something which is huge. As in, I know for the matter of fact that when we talk about tapping in so many kalaris and doing a Prashurama project, it's not easy. It's almost starts from Gokarna and ends at the bottom of Kerala. It's a huge thing to cover, and I feel that it's only possible when even institutions like Indicas and who comes forward and supports. You know, because I feel this culture, this whole this beautiful culture that we have, the whole Sanatan Dharma with all of it, you know, just not Kalaripayattu, with Ayurveda and Marma Chikitsa and so much, you know, Siddha and different forms of different art forms. You know, I think all uh, could be kept intact and preserved only when we all come together and kind of, you know, promote this and preserve it. And I feel privileged to having born in this land to see and experience all of it. And I feel that, you know, even the next generation, probably my kids and all, and in this age, you know, where everything is moving so fast and everything is so digitalized, you know, with everything moving more towards you know, like more towards city oriented uh, you know, art forms, that you want to sit in air conditioned theaters and just watch some sci-fi things. You know, there's no, I mean, again, there's nothing bad in that. I mean, that's also a creation. But then for the younger generations to see this is something which just not kind of develops you as a human being to your full potential, but at this you know, time when we are going through so much crisis, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, and we see all the turbulence around, I think it's a great tool for us to center us and kind of help us reflect more inwardly and be more in sync with who are we as our true nature. So I think that's only possible when we all come together and kind of uh, help preserve these beautiful art forms.
Absolutely. I think, there's always a challenge of fundraising. I think in all
Yeah,
of our traditional arts and, systems, parallelly doing fundraising to sustain and develop these projects. So I wish that, there would be some kind of support system where the artist or the practitioner
yeah,
doesn't have to worry about the
yeah.
raising money.
Yeah, my heart wrenches, to
Focus.
be honest, Aparnaji, when I see some of these artists whom I've met and they're incredible.
I think your voice is
Hello?
yeah, now it's
Yeah. So I'm saying, you know, my heart wrenches when I see all these artists, you know, of such high caliber. And, you know, I'm sure, like, we can, like you said, that if there is one constant support from even maybe even the government can come in and just, you know, make sure that at least these artists are paid a minimum support system where they can just focus on their art form, you know, and not think about their
on
day-to-day needs.
them,
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aparna ji. It was
Namaste,
great
and
talking
hope
to
to
you.
see you in Pondicherry.